Good morning, good morning. Actually, it's afternoon now, but I slept late this morning. It was such a delight to wake up to sunshine. Feels so good when you can get out of bed. And I went to the kitchen, got me a glass of juice, decided to bypass breakfast. Kind of late in the day anyway. So I sat down on the couch, and there was a magazine lying there, and I picked it up. It's an old magazine. I was going through some of my cookbooks and things, trying to get them sorted, and I have certain magazines that I wanted to keep. This one was dated 1995. That's a long time ago, you know. Ooh, starting to tell my age there. But anyway, this was the magazine, Country Sampler. Now, I had a reason for keeping this magazine. I'm going to tell you about it. I don't think I've told you this story before, but while I was living in Tennessee, I had a friend named Ann, and her husband Richard was a builder. Richard he had a special talent when it came to building Victorian-style homes. Oh, how I wished he could build one for me. But I got to know Ann very well. She was an antique lover. She was an antique expert. She could spot the good ones. She could tell you the history of everything. And I loved going shopping and thrifting. They didn't call it thrifting back then, but that's what we did. And looking for things. Now, this is Ann's story she told me. Richard, being a builder, of course, was an advantage for her. And she'd found a house out on Lone Mountain. It was an old house. Old, like, well, I'm going to tell you that later. She wanted that house. They had bought about 6 acres of land across the road, and she wanted to buy that house and move it. It was a 2-story house, big old farmhouse. She said she wanted it moved across the road. Richard was going to renovate, clean it up, fix it up, and they were going to live in it. Well, they were telling her, you can't move that house, it's too big. You'll never get it across the road. Well, she said, you put a man on the moon, didn't you? You can put a man on the moon, we're going to move that house across the road. She finally found a way to get it done. And the house was moved to a spot on the 6 acres. Richard started working on that house. He stripped the paint off the outside, cleaned the inside, the floors were finished, and took her talents and she wallpapered the rooms. Now, these rooms had high ceilings, big open fireplaces, hardwood floors, the big wide plank hardwood floors. They had everything you would want in an old house, well built. And with Richard's talent, he was making it look pretty good. Now, the history of this house was that it had once belonged to a Tennessee governor. This Tennessee governor served 3 and 4 terms in the late 1800s. So I want to show you the picture of the house after it was cleaned up and renovated. It's called the Taylor House. It was built in 1876. Show you this little picture. I want you to get a picture of that in your mind. The old Taylor House. Now, I went in that house and I just fell in love with everything about it. I was dreaming, wishing I could have a house like that. It had a gazebo on this side of the house. Richard cleaned that up, made it look beautiful, and it was in the perfect spot. And so you see the sign out front. They had the sign made, the old Taylor house. Well, okay, I'm going to show you a couple more pictures because I want you to see a little more. Now these pictures were taken after Ann and Richard lived there because they sold the house and moved to Alabama. And the couple that bought it did a little changing. They changed the wallpaper colors and things like that. And of course, this is their furniture in the house. But nobody could top Ann when it come to buying antique furniture. She really knew how to pick it. So I'm going to show you this little picture. This picture is right outside the covered back porch. You can see it there, the glass door. See the big fireplace. I spent many days sitting on a sofa near that fireplace looking at Ann Decorator magazines while she worked in the kitchen. Now the kitchen had brick floors. Now this is the second owner's materials on the shelves. Of course, there were no kitchen cabinets, so everything was out in the open, and you had your pot hangers from the ceiling, what have you. But this gives you an idea of what the kitchen looked like. Loved the kitchens, especially those brick floors. The second owner repainted. It was rather bold colors, but it gives you an idea of what the stairway looked like. And when you got up part of the way, there was another little short stairway that took you to a room across the back of the house, a big, long room that was ideal for a children's room. So you see the banister railing, you can see down below the doorway going into the kitchen area. This is the bathroom upstairs. You see the clawfoot tub, and I think you can barely see the faucets. They were the old faucets coming out of the wall, but I loved that bathroom. Now those are the pictures I wanted you to see. But I wish you could have seen it with Ann's antiques. Ann was the type that her husband drove a working van, and she would buy antiques, and once a year she would go to Pennsylvania. I think it was Lancaster, Pennsylvania. They would have the big antique show. They came from all over the United States, and so Ann would fill up the working van, and she would take her antiques to Pennsylvania, and she could sell them for a good profit. Now, I wanted to show you this because it all appeared again in Country Sampler magazine. I know there was more I was going to tell, but I've already forgotten it. And but I still wanted you to see what this house looked like. It was like it's like you would covet, and there was nothing any nicer. And I would go visit, and I'd let her work in the house, and I'd sit on the sofa by the fireplace and look at her magazines. And she was also a very good cook. I've collected a few antiques myself, one right behind me. You can see this cabinet. I've told you about it before. In fact, I've got another magazine that shows that same cabinet on the front cover of the magazine. Naturally, I had to keep that. This little cabinet was one that I bought from a lady friend in Corbin. No, I didn't buy it from her. I made a trade. I had a room-sized piece of carpet. Hadn't been used, and she needed carpet in her bedroom. So I traded that piece of carpet for this little cabinet. It was covered in the white paint. Very hard to remove. So I got someone to refinish the cabinet. Now this is just the top half of the cabinet that you're seeing behind me. Let's see if I can move this a little bit and see it a little more. I'm not sure. Hold on. Okay. There you go. You see my cabinet. You see the glass in the windows. Okay, in the windows, in the doors. Get it straight. So anyway, I have loved that cabinet ever since. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And under that cabinet is a table called a Sabelli table. You know what Sabelli means? It means the drawers, let's see, the drawers are curved. They're curved like that. When you open the drawers, that they go under the, like that. Anyway, you get the idea. So that's another piece. They go together so well. The Hoosier cabinet is of oak, and the table below it is of maple. Nobody would know but what they went together. So you can see my water pitcher down below. That water pitcher dates back to the late 1800s. So I'm waiting for the picture behind me to see if it's real or if it's a copy, because I know it's old and I bought it at a Goodwill store for $15. Take a look at that frame, mind you. That frame is in very good condition, but it's an old frame. $15 for the painting and the frame. I'm waiting for some expert to tell me it's worth $25,000. I'm sure it's a Renoir or Monet or something like that. You know how you can dream? Well, that's one of my dreams right there. So someone may discover it after I'm gone. That's okay if they do. At least I'll know it was worth more than $15. So I don't know much of anything to tell you. I'm getting ready to do another table decoration. I'd like to do something different. Everything just looks alike to me. I'm just interchanging the chickens for the roosters and the turkeys and the hens on the nest and whatever else I can come up with. And I want something new and different, but I do love the old country look. I got out my big tureen. I forget about having it because I keep it on top of my cabinet, my big china cabinet that holds my Fiesta ware. And here's the top of the tureen, so you can see it's going to make a nice centerpiece when I get it together with my other dishes and things and my chargers and a few candles. I've got candles all over the house. I don't ever worry about the electricity going off because I've got enough candles to light up the whole house. It pays to buy candles, and of course, it's best if you buy the ones that are in jars. That way you don't have to worry about fire. I've got a pile of tablecloths. The funny thing was, when I had the photographer and the stylist come to photograph my house, I knew I was going to have to get out my old tablecloth to let the stylist decide which one to go on my big round. I had a great big round oak table. So I stacked them all up, and I had one that had all the fall colors. It had the pumpkins, and the fall leaves. It just bright and gorgeous. But I knew that the pictures were going to be taken for a Christmas issue of Country Accent magazine. So she's not going to want that fall tablecloth. I just laid it aside and had about 6 or 8 for her to pick from. Well, wouldn't you know, when she started looking through, and then she saw that one sitting over to one side, said, "What is this?" I said, "Well, it's just a fall tablecloth I made." And she looked at it, unfolded it, and she said, "This is the one I want to use." Wouldn't you know? That's how much I know about decorating. And so that's the one that got on the front cover of Country Accents magazine in 1994. It was the Christmas issue. If you happen to have that magazine, take a look. You're going to see 10 pages, 10 whole pages of me and my sister. It shows her kitchen and her antiques, and then it shows 5 pages of mine. So I still go back to those things. 1994. Ooh, time is passing fast. And I think that's my claim to fame. We all wish we could have a claim to fame. It's just natural, You want to be noticed for something. So, anyway, if you've got my magazine, send it to me. I'll autograph it for you. And that's about it. I'm getting a lot of good comments from my viewers. It just amazes me how many good people we have in this country. I don't want to hear our country put down for the crime and everything that's negative. It's time we recognize the good people in the country. The things they do may be small. They look small, but they're worth a pot of gold. When you have a good friend, treasure that friend. Be a good friend to them too. Think of the elderly people that need your friendship. They just need somebody to talk to once in a while. I'm one of those elder people, and I'm telling you, that's how I feel. Now and then, I get a little down in the dumps, and I get to where, what am I going to do next to entertain myself? Well, I don't like entertaining myself in the kitchen with washing dishes. That was never one of my favorite things. And I've outgrown all of my crafts and sewing and decorating. People don't want it anymore. The family's got everything they need, and their styles are different. And see all this stuff behind me? They don't want it. But I'm enjoying it. I talked to Billie Jean last night and his mother. She's so sweet. Well, he is too, but I'll give her most of the credit. And we had a really good conversation. He got the idea that I was depressed when he was watching one of my videos. And I said, well, we all get a little bit depressed. If it's not the weather, it's the conditions. And of course, right now we've got Hurricane Helene, whatever you call her. So many people worried and wondering, what can I do to help these helpless people? I don't know, but there are organizations that we can contact and do our share. I know what it's like. Not with water, not with rivers overflowing, not with the downing of the trees and the flooding of the homes, but I do know what a disaster can be for a family. I've had 2 fires, nobody but me to clean it up. It's not easy cleaning up a mess. Everything's a mess. You can't decide what to keep, what to throw away, what can be repaired. And you go to bed at night dog-tired from trying to make decisions that don't seem to get you anywhere. But you get through it. You do get through it. One of my best friends, there was another hurricane down in Florida or somewhere, may have been in Texas, I don't know, but we were discussing the disaster and all, and I was telling her, I just can't imagine what these people are going through, what they're having to do, trying to pull their lives back together. And she said, but Pat, you've been through this yourself. I said, not really. She said, yes, you have. You've been through 2 fires. You had to clean up after 2 fires, and you did it alone. I said, well, I really didn't think about it that way. I just did it because I had to do it. That's it. You have to do it. We have to help those people. And I'm still waiting to see what the best thing is I can do. I hope you're thinking about them too, and I hope what we do is right for them. So we don't want to concentrate on that completely. We've got to concentrate on the positive end of it now, because the damage has already been done. We have got to pull ourselves together and make life worth living for these families. I know you're thinking of them just like I am. You want to do and you want to help. And they will get through it. They will. There's been so many. You think over the centuries. I sat down thinking about what these people were going through, and it hit me. I remember seeing the movie, The Grapes of Wrath, with Henry Fonda. It hasn't been too long since I saw that movie again, and I said, I'll never watch The Grapes of Wrath again. It was the most horrific thing. But you know what? That's how it was back then. What those people went through, the famine, the hard work, no work could they get, the life they had to live, that was real, even though I was watching it as a movie. So, all from one century to another, we're going to have these things happen to us. And I don't know that there's any way we can be prepared, but we do have to help those that it affects. Don't want to talk about it anymore. We all know what to do. Some of us do anyway. I'm still looking to see what to do. So that'll be something to keep me busy. And that's what I want. I want to stay busy. So, having shown you my magazine and talked about my friend Ann, she's living in Alabama now. Haven't seen her in years. But I would say she's still decorating the old houses and fixing them up. And I certainly would love to see her again. But I can look at this picture and I can say, my friend Ann did that to a house that was sitting down in a gully on the other side of the road. She moved that house to a 6-acre lot. And that's what it looked like today. Looked like a miracle to me. But she also had her husband helping her, who was an expert on builder. And he had such a talent for fixing up old houses. I'd like to go through that house one more time. I think you probably would too. And the way Ann had it decorated, you couldn't top it. So this is my story for today, the old Taylor house, built 1876 and owned by a Tennessee governor. You take care today. I'm going to go in and eat some of my leftovers. And next time I go to the grocery, I'm going to get some good sweet yellow onions. And I hate to say it. It's like having an addiction to something. And I'm just about to have an addiction to onion petals, not onion rings. You take it up to, and I heard from a few of you that have already decided you want to make some onion petals. Let me know how they turn out, and stay well. Thank you.